level 1 down to level 10. But those ones with power, it's just a matter of a call, and they get it. Thank you, Andy, and thank you, Daniel. I hope you will take this charge for us.
Sorry, can I just say something very quickly? And that's why I said that Mission 89 has a can technically support, because before any procedure or any element to a guideline is changed or added, there is a way that happens. Before the UN decides to come up with a resolution, there is a guideline to how that happens. And that's why I said this is not another thing to push to FIFA, but it's another thing for AFA, the association, to take leadership on. Because if you want that to happen, someone needs to lead on it. You can't say, oh, FIFA, you need to do this, you need to speak on this. Someone needs to send a letter, someone needs to make a case for this, and this is the best place for that to happen. I think that's how the power begins to build, because what you said here is intelligence, but it's an intelligence that must come with evidence of how that happens, and so that you make a case for the need for assessing that and exploring a solution, a concrete solution that makes a difference to it. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
It is okay? Ok. Docteur, bravo, good job. Bravo pour le travail accompli. Je suis Élisée Hirier, je viens de la Côte d'Ivoire. Moi, c'est avec beaucoup d'attention que j'ai suivi votre présentation, parce que en tant que licencié, je crois que...
Sorry, I think the person is speaking in Portuguese.
En portugais, n'a pas... Ah, ok. Non, elle est sur la mauvaise fréquence. Ouais. Qu'elle change de fréquence.
Okay, can you say, let me keep talking.
Ok, donc je disais que je suis Élisée Hirier, je viens de la Côte d'Ivoire, et c'est avec beaucoup d'attention que j'ai suivi votre présentation. Bravo pour cette belle présentation, parce que déjà, on est certifié par la FIFA, et dans les différentes certifications, je crois que la mission 89 a fait beaucoup de travaux dans lesquels nous avons été évalués. Et moi, actuellement, ma photo de profil est l'un des blasons de mission 89, pour dire que je me fais ambassadeur de cette mission-là. Ma question est de savoir, c'est quoi aujourd'hui la procédure pour permettre au personnel de mission 89 de sorte que des déplacements puissent se faire dans mon pays, parce que déjà, je suis sur un projet avec l'université Félix Houphouët-Boigny de mon pays, une université publique, et dans ce qu'on veut faire comme formation, on veut insérer des certifications. Et moi, franchement, j'aimerais que vous me dites aujourd'hui comment ça se passe quand demain, on veut faire appel à vous déjà pour que vous puissiez intervenir, former, de sorte que ces personnes qui seront formées puissent être demain les ambassadeurs de tout ce qui est dit, de tout ce qui est prévu, de tout ce qui est fait pour protéger les personnes vulnérables et bien plus. Merci.
I don't think I got all the question, but I think the last thing I got was that how can we intervene? How can we come into, right? Should I just answer? As an organization for us, we are really open to working with different people. We believe in collaboration more than anything. I think we're really known for that. The research is really important to us, and like I said, we do have the technical framework to support missions that aligns with our agenda. We are here today in collaboration. We are constantly collaborating with AFAA. We're constantly collaborating with FIFA. We're constantly collaborating with the Premier League and any sports body that can help push this forward. So our contact is public. If there's anything I think we've done work in Cote d'Ivoire before, and we're constantly trying to make sure that we sign MOUs with a number of stakeholders, and we're open to that. So we can talk after this and see how we can work together. But the mission is clear, and the agenda is really the same. Thank you.
Doctor, maybe on a final note, we'll actually discuss issue relating to exploitation and the rest. I think I have some practical experience. My coming here to Cape Verde, I think I was notified that I have some of my Nigerian footballers that are currently here. I think one of them, they play officially for a club in Cape Verde, but I would say that their talent is being exploited, because you can imagine a player being in a club, he's not being paid salaries, he's not given accommodation, he's not given anything relating to his feeding, and he plays in a Division 1 club in Cape Verde. You know, we talk about the issue of exploitation. This is a practical one. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe after this meeting, we may likely meet with some of the players in the room, meet with them. Let's see what we can do to get this resolved. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's just jam our hands together as thank you. So the next few minutes, before we go for our lunch break, we'll be having another keynote talk by FIFA. This keynote address by the head of Agent Department of FIFA, Patricio Varela, and who is ably represented here by Daniel Freitas, who will be giving us a keynote address on the topic promoting FIFA licensed agents, raising awareness on the importance of working exclusively with licensed agents to protect stakeholders and also to promote professionalism. So I want you to jam your hands together as we welcome Daniel Freitas, who will be giving us a very short talk on this important topic. Thank you. Please just jam your hands together out and climb the podium.
Let's just wait for the presentation to be up. Okay. Translation good? Good, thank you. So hello once again. If you haven't seen me before or you weren't here yesterday, my name is Daniel Freitas, and I've been mentioned several times in other presentations also as a representative of FIFA. In this case, I work directly in the FIFA agents department together with my other 3 colleagues, and Patricio couldn't be here unfortunately, but I will speak on the department's behalf. The initial theme of this conference was, of this presentation specifically, was to promote FIFA licensed agents. But after some of the conversations and some of the interactions I had, decided to slightly adapt it to the reality. Instead of speaking in general terms, to make it more oriented to the public here that is present, and specifically talking about the the situation in the African continent in this regard. So basically, just going to address a little bit of what I'm going to talk about for this maybe 20 minutes. We see a lot of talents pouring in from Africa, and we've heard, and I'm sure most of the people here have more experience than me when they're dealing with making that transition from the African continent to Europe, and how agents are currently dealing with this. Just a general overscale of how the agent market is working and what is the reality in this continent. Again, I seem like I'm repeating myself constantly, but just to address the main licensing requisites that exist for becoming a FIFA licensed agent, that is connected in the end to giving you a case example of what happens within our department on a daily basis, so you guys can have a practical outlook on what is happening in reality. And then a final message. It's funny because it kind of replicates what Dr. May was talking about shared responsibility. So basically this part of the presentation is touching upon a lot of things that were discussed today. So it ties everything together in that sense. So opportunity or risk. So right now we know that Africa is one of the biggest exporters in terms of footballing talent in the world. We do see that these players are targeted internationally, but we know that more and more they are being exposed to these unlicensed individuals. So the question that I'm posing is, who is really protecting the player? Is the agent or unlicensed individual, however you want to call him, is he acting for himself? Is he acting in the best interest of the player? Is he acting on selfish purposes? What is the intention of these individuals, that knowing that they are unlicensed, and what is their prime objective when addressing or engaging with these players? So just a little overview. FIFA every year publishes a report on the transactions that involve the agents. So in our case, we do measure from the international side. So basically what we have, the data that we have in TMS is around $1.37 billion in transactions. We know the number is much bigger than this, but this number is basically what is communicated to us via TMS. So we know that outside this, we don't have a number in itself, but we know that this number is higher. And again, from an international standpoint, and the ones that are registered, we did see around 3,000 international transfers involving agents. Also an increase in women's football in that case, almost 100% in that regard. So a growth across the global football. And what is happening is that these regulations have to match the market growth that's happening. So another survey, while we've been working with Mission 89, we've been working with Dr. Serhart. There has been a lot of surveys that are being conducted on an international level, trying to understand what is the current scenario. And this is the work that the FIFA Agents Department and other collaborators are doing to understand the current picture of what's happening. We did detect that there were around 70% of players that were approached by these, I put unknown agents, but it's unlicensed individuals. They do not know when they make this first approach, they do not, well, I don't want to say they do not care, but they present themselves as legitimate agents. So they would say that the players would not have an idea if this person is licensed, or would they have any kind of knowledge or notion that they have to engage with a licensed individual. So what we do in our department, we do see, and we are via our reporting portal or directly via email or any type of communication coming from member associations and so on, we do see on a daily basis dozens and dozens of reports from players basically with promises about trials, contracts, transfers. I think from my experience since I've been working in 2024 for about 2 years now, that the majority of individuals that reach out to us basically get involved in, well, I want to say, these scamming situations where individuals will present themselves as legitimate. They will present themselves with videos, with pictures with famous players, with all kinds of favorable positions and so on to bring that legitimacy. And they will, and this is a red flag in this sense, if an agent is offering you a trial in a club and so on, and he asks for money in advance, then that is a big red flag to begin with. So, and usually clubs will not request any type of fee in order to advance. We will have private academies that will do that. But if there's a promise from any club, registered club, about conducting a trial in one of these in these clubs and paying and making a payment up front, then that usually is a red flag. So what happens, and when they reach out to us, it's usually at a time of despair. They could be abroad already. They could have spent all their money on airplane tickets that were promised by them. They could be in very susceptible situations where they are completely abandoned abroad and they do not see any kind of recourse. Then they refer to FIFA, which then FIFA obviously tries to direct them to either a player association or to any of the local associations in order to assist them in this sense. But it happens much more than I would have imagined before I entered this space. So it's very concerning. I can't give you any specific numbers, but on a monthly basis, if we receive around 20 complaints from players about these fake agents, that would be a very estimate approach. So what we detect here is there is a trust gap in representation. So moving on to that specific situation, I'm not going to repeat in terms of, you know what I'm here to do. I'm here to say that a football agent is a person that is licensed by FIFA to perform football agent services. So only the licensed football agents should perform these services. And the standard that we establish is always through eligibility, the exam, and professional standards with the CPD. So this for us, and Michael was mentioning this the other day, why do we pay a license? Why do we do this? I think it's to establish a standard and to have a reference for individuals to engage. Again, having a license, and Dr. May was talking about this, you can have a license and still be terrible at what you do. There's no guarantee that the license will provide you all the ethical or the practical standards that you need. But it is a basis, it is something to follow through with. And that is the standard that is nowadays that actually exists. And then with the CPD that I already mentioned. So in essence, it is what we would say it's a global standard for having that trust that I was mentioning before. It's not 100%, as everything, it's not 100%, but it is a standard as it is. So besides what I was talking about with all these standards about eligibility and sitting for the exam and complying with CPD, there is the standard that also Andy was mentioning about having a mandatory form for representation agreements. The transparency of fees and contracts is something that I already mentioned this in my presentation yesterday, but this part is partially suspended. So what we aimed to do was a licensed agent would have their FIFA agent platform where they would basically upload all the information, all the representation agreements. So FIFA would be aware of what's happening on an international basis, and to basically have this information for eventual disputes and so on. Unfortunately, this is not what's happening at the moment due to the partial suspension. But on a national level, as Andy was explaining in his presentation, they still have their own platforms in that sense. So it's for us having a representation agreement is still mandatory. It's still the legal basis to perform football agent services. Even if you cannot upload it on the platform, you still have mandatory national requirements that you can use. And for us, this will always be valid, regardless of if you can upload it on the platform. So basically, in this conclusion, just to have this oversight via the FIFA systems, which would be the ideal scenario. So in this case, what we would hope for would be that accountability would replace uncertainty. So in terms of closing the gap between accessing the licensing system. So I've heard from many people that we know people that have been licensed since 2023 when the exam was performed in person in a national association. And we remember at the time where we would naturally transition into an online exam for people to have more opportunities to actually sit for the exam and become a licensed agent. We had reports from people that they had to travel thousands of miles to reach the member association to actually sit for the exam. People in isolated countries. I remember specifically one scenario in Cape Verde. I think he is one of the only licensed agents in Cape Verde, to be honest. And I've been in FIFA since 2024. So this was one of my first experiences with interacting with the member association. And there was one individual that was to sit for the exam, and he arrived at the venue. I'm not sure if anyone from Cape Verde's federation is here, but the federation was closed. So he couldn't sit for the exam, and we basically employed all our efforts to reach out to the federation, to talk to whoever was responsible, and to engage with them and say, it's mandatory, this person has to sit for the exam. So we went through a whole process for one individual, for them to open the doors of the association, to explain them that there was a FIFA agent exam happening. Maybe that's on FIFA for not communicating equally to all member associations, but this is a general approach that we have, and to let him sit for the exam. So I think that person became licensed, but it was an effort on our behalf to actually engage. So for us, the natural transition to an online exam made total sense. If in practice that is working, I believe it is, but we know that we have a lot of issues, but that's something to discuss forward. So that's why we try to make the exam, we try to remove these geographic barriers in order for everyone to be able to become licensed. Where am I pointing at? Oh, sorry. Sorry. So in this sense, we did note like a large growing of participants in participating in the exam once it became online. So for you to have a notion, Before, we would have around, when it was organized by the member associations, we would have around maybe 10,000 or 11,000 applicants every session. For the first exam, we had online exam. We had around 16,000, so that was a record in terms of registration. For this exam that happened now, we had also around 17,000 applicants, so we do see an increase in this sense, and especially from many national member associations inserted in CAF. So again, this is always an opportunity to professionalize the agent market and to have legitimacy in how you obtain your license. So just to give you one quick example, I was talking before about how we receive complaints from individuals about how they are addressing with agents. So in this case, this is one of hundreds that they reach out directly to us, and then they say, "Good morning, FIFA staff members, I'm whatever from whatever." And a certain individual in Rome made me sign a contract in 2025 for a team in Italy, and they charged me 988 euros for agent commission. The contract was fake. He won't give me my money back. I have attached videos of photos of when I signed the contracts, and then providing with his number and with his WhatsApp number, and providing with video and photographic evidence. Actually, from this case, they were sitting in a cafe in front of the Colosseum, signing a contract, and apparently everything looked legitimate from his side. But again, there was no information. He didn't. The anxiety and the pressure that players might feel that they can sign for a club and they ignore all the red flags is obviously a problem that we need to address, and this comes with the education of the players also. So in these cases, they will pay for a trial abroad via this agent. No contract materializes, and the player is stranded without any kind of support. So in this case, we would say this is an unlicensed intermediary and who has zero accountability. So coming back to what Dr. May was talking about in this case, there is a shared responsibility, and clubs should only work with licensed agents. The players should verify before signing, and the agents must uphold the ethical standards. Again, passing the exam, paying your license fee, passing the CPD is not a guarantee that you will be compliant with the rules. We have numerous cases where even licensed agents are doing this. So basically, they use their license to legitimize themselves, and then they do these kind of schemes where they pay upfront for trials, they will do this. So again, this is not a guarantee. It's a standard, but it's not a guarantee in this case. Whatever you do with your license is up to you. And at the moment, FIFA has its hands tied in terms of what we can do with licensed agents in this case. But we are keeping tabs on these people once the regulation is set in place again. So in this case, we want collective accountability. So again, just as a conclusion on this part, we do believe that this professionalization is not exclusion, and it's the protection of all football stakeholders, being the players, the clubs, etc. So I think that the future of agents in football will, again, coming back to the idea of trust and accountability from everyone. It's not only from the licensed agent that we need this type of trust and accountability. It's from me, it's from you, it's for everyone that's involved in the football sphere in this sense. So, thank you. there's any questions, let me know.
Still have any question? Okay. I will reserve all my question for our special interview.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you so much. All right. Now we'll be going on a lunch break. When we return, we'll have the women will have their section. Then after that, maybe we'll have the interview and maybe one more talk by the master class. Then we'll round off for today. We are trying to see how we can manage the time to a bit close early because we understand that some persons they have scheduled return flight for tonight so that they can have the necessary rest before they return. So we can now proceed to take our lunch. And please, we just have 20 minutes. Let's be back by 3:40 local time. 20 minutes. Thank you. Very important section by the women is a panel section, what should be coming up before we close this. But before then, Charles will be giving us a presentation, a very short one for about 20 minutes, and on a keynote talk, masterclass in football business, understanding the football business model, how clubs, scouts, and agents interact. This ought to be a panel, but considering the time constraint, Charles will just give a brief talk, and maybe there's one or two contributions from the audience. We'll have that. So just join your heads together as we welcome Charles to the podium. Please just share him.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. Please, because of time constraints, as you heard, our executive, just 20 minutes to just give you highlights, so I can't go into details. Understanding football as a business model, interaction between sports agents or football agents and clubs and also scouts. If you are a football agent, business commences for the first time when you have signed a player. As I stand here and I'm giving this presentation, I'm looking at if I were to be the agent for Messi, when he started about way back 10, 15, 20 years ago at Barcelona when he was a young kid. And today, he's a global icon in the football industry. Even his brand alone has given so much for football clubs. And we know that as we speak now, he is playing in the MLS in the US. In fact, for the first time, I started watching the MLS because of Messi. I was not watching the MLS in the US because the US football model is different from EU and other countries. So I was not watching. But because of Messi, I started watching. So we are going to look at these simple highlights as how the interaction between agents and clubs interplay. Now, is it going? Yes. Now, I will go back. It's not working. I want to go back. The beginning. Okay. So, I'm a FIFA license agent, and we are going to okay. Sorry, my pointer is giving me a lot of. Are they controlling me there? Oh. What's happening? Can you be rotating it for me? Okay. Okay, so let's start the next slide. Okay, so we are going to look at the commercialization of football. As a sports agent, as a FIFA license agent, you must know that football is now a commercialized business. And for the first time, I started watching football. This year, those who will be going to World Cup in the US, Canada, and Mexico, the tickets are just, we will talk about it later. The price of football tickets, for the first time, last 4 years, I was in Qatar. The football ticket was somewhere around, I will check the data, but the price we are buying now is quite different. So that should tell you how football is becoming money-making enterprise. Then you also look at technology, the role of technology, and then we look at the merchandise and also licensing, the selling brand. Then we look at the global football market. Where are we going now? Now, there's so much focus on Europe. Since yesterday we started having the conversations, it has been Europe, Africans want to move to Europe, Africans want to move to Europe. A time will come, the European football market will be so saturated, and where would attention shift to? Asia and Africa. That's where we have the future market. Please, let's go on. So we are looking at the broadcasting. This year, if you will not be able to go to US, Canada, or Mexico to watch the live football match, all the TV stations in the world, all the media houses, all the social media handles, and even other electronic media, they've all gotten the right from FIFA. FIFA has designated specific media sponsors and media partners that will telecast the TV live. So if you are an agent and you are representing a club or you are representing a football team, at the time we are having the negotiations, you should factor all this into consideration. Assuming I am representing a football team like Manchester United, at the time I am going to be their agent for transfer of players, I should factor broadcasting rights of those individuals in the club. But in the EU, UEFA has made a rule that all the player brands and image rights have been given to them. So it's like a pool. So if you go to Europe, if you are playing in the football in UEFA, the rights have been given to UEFA, and the UEFA shares the right for the various clubs. So it's like a pool, because that concept was what they were using, because they think that if you compare Manchester City and let's say a smaller club like maybe Nottingham Forest and Manchester City, look at the clubs. So in the wisdom of UEFA, they decided that all the clubs in the EU, they should give the rights to the club, the FA or the MA, then they will administer the rights for the individual. So they share according to rates and according to some proportionality that they do. So if you are a player, you must consider some of this agreement in your dealings. Else, at the end of the day, you lose out, because nobody knew that Barcelona will turn Messi to become a global icon like this. When he started as a kid, nobody knew that he would become a global icon like this. So if I'm representing him and I did not factor his broadcasting rights and his global view and all those into it at the time you are representing the football club, Barcelona Football Club, doing the transfers, you have challenges. So you have to look at the worldwide reach of the club, also the rights that they have and all that. Then the sponsorship. Play the next one. Please come back. Now look at the revenue boost. Even the ticketing, if you are going to San Siro to watch football club, the ticketing is the primary revenue source. I can tell you that from my reading before I put this slides together, what I saw was that even the revenues they get from the media outlets and the media rights is even more than even the primary ticketing as a source of revenue. So as agents, as we are entering into this market, let's look at these areas of generation of revenues. Please, the next slide. Sponsorship deals. Let's consider if you are into transfer of players and a particular brand decides to, let's say Adidas, decide to sign on one of your players. You have to make sure that you have gone into all the sponsorship agreement very well to be able to know the percentage you'll be taking and also the club. Because the primary rule is that the clubs own the players' image rights, the clubs. So you, the agent managing the player, how do you relate and contract with the club so that you don't lose out? Because Messi can decide that he wants to do a personal advertising for, let's say, Facebook. He wants to do brand advertisement for Facebook. How is the relationship going to be between the club and you, the agent? Because he's your player. You are managing him. Have you factored all this into your business arrangement in line with that? Please, the next one. Now you also have naming rights. Some of the clubs have had a contract with certain brands. Look at Emirates, Arsenal. For the first time, I was watching, anytime I'm watching Arsenal, I see the brand in their jerseys. Emirates. Now, there is a contractual relationship between the airline Emirates, we all fly Emirates, and the football club. This is the contractual agreement between the two of them. So you have named such a person, a club that has named such a club as their brand, their lead brand, how you, the agent, how do you fit in there, assuming you are representing the football club Arsenal as for transfers of maybe players and certain business deals? How do you take advantage of that? Please, the next one. Now, football endorsements. I've already indicated that football stars are not just athletes. They are global marketing icons, as I've already indicated. Therefore, when you are having such representation with such players, you must factor this in your presentation, and also your contract arrangement, how you'll be able to market the player. Personal branding, like I was indicated. So platforms, like you can also decide to create a platform for the player we are managing, and then market him and make you can decide to, maybe subject to the contractual agreement you have with the club, you can decide that you want your football player to champion kids football, because you can decide to come out with a program where maybe like something like malaria infections, you can let your player take that as a global trade where he is a lead ambassador to fight certain basic disease against children. UNICEF can come and sponsor you and all those things. Please, the next one. Now, technology. Yesterday, we had a very good presentation from our colleague from Bridgeball, telling us about how agents, we can incorporate technology in our delivery of services. So, as agents and football clubs, how are you going to leverage on technology? Yesterday we heard enough from the professional as to how we can incorporate or leverage on this. One of them is digital broadcasting and streaming. Now, if you don't have, assuming the World Cup is going on as we are in this forum, what can you do? You can just go onto your iPad or your phone, and then you start streaming live. So all these are outlets that you can market your player. So you have to devise very business models that you can market your player. Then another way they can also make is that as you are making advantage of these streaming models, people also subscribe. And now, the social media, the more you have followers or the more you have. I was checking Messi and Ronaldo's handles. I was surprised. I couldn't count the numbers. Millions of numbers. People are following them. Millions of people are following them all over the world. So if you're an agent for such a player, you yourself can even market yourself. That I am representing this person, and you can take that big platform and also make business out of it. Please, the next one. Please, the next slide. Yes, fan engagement. Now, the fan engagement all over the world has become very innovative. People are using so many strategic ways of making fun very interesting. So it's no more the traditional way of we go to the stadium and we are shouting and making noise and all that. You can innovate. What are some of the innovations that you can do? Interactive content. You can make, look, if you watch the EPL all the time, before every match starts, they have fan engagement from DSTV. DSTV will make fan engagement. People from Nairobi, people from Ghana, other countries will be making predictions and interacting. These are all areas that you can make business out of it for the club and also for the players. And we get a lot of revenue from social media. Then this is another business area too agents can also take advantage of, but subject to certain regulatory requirements. Betting. We all know some of the betting, the most popular betting platforms we have. That footballers are Henry Thierry. I think Henry Thierry, former Arsenal player, he is one of the ambassadors for one of the betting companies. I always watch him on DSTV. Most of the adverts. Betway, I think it's Betway. He is the brand ambassador for Betway. So assuming that you were or you have any business that you are dealing with as an agent, you can take advantage of some of these areas. Please, the next one. Now, merchandise. No, the next one. Yes, licensing agreement. Most of the football clubs to enter into agreement with manufacturers, certain sporting manufacturers like Adidas. And then a player to Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo, the footwears and his personal wears that he wears, he has agreement with certain brand ambassadors. So as an agent, what role do you play with the club and also the player himself? These are all management. It comes under sports management business. So we as sports FIFA licensed football agent, it's not just about the contract you are signing on that very day, but the business aspect of it. You should be very interested in how you'll be able to intervene and also participate in all these activities. Now, we have global reach of merchandise. Yes, as I've already indicated, it's now you don't need to be at a particular country to be able to market your product. It's all over the world, depending on the medium that you use. Please, the next one. Now, global markets. The football global market. As I indicated earlier, there's a new dimension where we are going to tap into. If you look at the way football is going now, football is expanding rapidly into markets where a lot of talent have not been tapped. I wanted to bring a table because I had less time to show, if you look at the European market, African market, and then Asian market, where do we have a lot of untapped talent? These are some of the areas we as African football agents, we must start averting our minds to. Look at North Africa, the biggest club, the biggest team we have in Brazil, in North America. A lot of talent are there. So if you look at the United States, long considered a minor football market. Now, because of MLS, the greatest player we all call Lionel Messi is now lifting, or because of his brand, a lot of people are now watching the MLS for the first time. So these are all on tag. So a time will come, there will be a competition between Spanish La Liga and the MLS in the US, even though the two models are different. You know, the two football models are different. Then let's look at the World Cup. What is the possible market chances or opportunities that we have? For the first time, just pick your phone and check the minimum amount of football tickets we are going to buy for the World Cup. So much money. So much money. So if you look at the schedule to be hosted by United States, Canada, and football is set for a massive boom in North America, bringing in new fans and significant revenue to even the government of America, Canada, and then Mexico, they will make a lot of business from there. So at the same time, you, the football agent, how do you tap into such opportunities? For the first time, I'm visiting the 3 countries. I'll be in Mexico, I'll be in Canada, I'll be in US. Why? Because if I get there, I can settle and establish some networks, and I can also visit some of the local clubs in those countries, and I can establish some network there. I'm building my base. So these are some of the advantage we agents, we can take advantage of. I can visit some of the clubs and then see how we can make contact over there. Then we have Asia. Asia is one of the identified hotspot areas that as agents we must look at as we are going on. Asia has become one of the football most lucrative markets, with millions of fans watching European leagues and international tournaments. So these are some of the basic things that as football agents we need to avert our minds to. We must always look at the business opportunities, not just the contract we are executing that Mr. A is moving to Club B. As Mr. A is moving to Club B, how can you tell, Mr. Mustafa, how can you tell that the player you are signing today, tomorrow, he'll become the global icon? I wish maybe Ronaldo football agent is here. Then I ask him, how did you know that Ronaldo will become the global icon today? You can't tell. So as you cannot tell, you take all advantages as you are starting from the very beginning. Any advantage that you have to take with the clubs, as I've already indicated. So, please, the next slide. Now, investment. Now you look at, even if you look at the Asia and then some of the Saudi Pro League. Now, most players are going. Ronaldo, for the first time, is playing in Asia, where football was not traditionally a strong base. But because of the presence of such key players, I was watching most of the clubs in Saudi Arabia and other places, and I saw how big players, Mo Salah will be ending his career at the end of the season of Liverpool. I'm so expectant to see where is he going. Where is he going? And if such a big global icon like Mo Salah moves to the Saudis, what does that tell you? It's not just about the transfer, but the enormous business advantage that he's moving to the Saudis. And if you are his agent, what do you have to do? What role do you play in such a transfer? And what are the benefits do you tap into? And these are some of the things why we are all thinking through. Then, Africa, our home grounds. We also have to look at it has been talent pipeline for European football long time ago. As yesterday we were here, we were talking about human trafficking, how our young people are being trafficked to Europe because of football and all that. Yes, as we are engaging in the football transfers, what business models are we innovating for such a continent? Maybe I have a player in Sierra Leone. He wants to move to Morocco. What business strategies or benefits can I tap within the African continent? Not always focusing on the European market. These are some of the, it's not only about also the transfer fees. Don't focus too much on the transfer fees, but even the other business models. Maybe your player can become a brand ambassador for maybe the Air Maroc airline. Who knows? If your player become brand ambassador for Air Maroc airline, this is distinct from the transfer fees you are focusing on. There are business models there that you can exploit. Then, I've already indicated that the African market is a football grassroots where we have a lot of talent and other things there. So this is just a brief of business models that I would like to share with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Charles. Within a very short notice, you delivered something very important. And I know there are a lot of us that have some take home from your presentation. Thank you so much, Charles. Now, okay, we have some questions. Okay. You, all right. Please, the women panel, just get set. You will be on next. Maria and Eko.
Yeah, thank you, Charles. Not like a question, but not a question. You mentioned Liverpool, you mentioned Mo Salah. I'm a fan of Liverpool. I support Liverpool Football Club for a very long time. But now, I want to stop supporting Liverpool. Not because of their losing or what, but because of being an African man. From the year 1992, from the onset, from 1992, let me put it that way. Since 1992, there is no player in Liverpool that performed or that has the record that Mo Salah has in Liverpool presently. So, the day he announced he's leaving Liverpool, the following day, Liverpool had an interview with someone who always criticized Salah. And they now asked him to mention his top 6 players of Liverpool, top 10 players of Liverpool in Liverpool history. He put Salah in number 6. So before then, they asked him, maybe 2-3 months before, they asked him to name top 10 players in the Premier League. He put Salah in number 2. But the day Salah announces that he's leaving Liverpool, he put Salah in number 6. So with that, I decided that, no, these people don't like African players. They don't want our record in public. They just want to use us and dump us, something like that. So in that case, now back to your question, in that case, do you want, we, the African players, do you have any suggestion or do you have any, let me say, suggestion how we can market our players from Africa? Players of Africa to where, if we want to stop taking them to Europe, because of there is racism, there is so many things going on. So what will be your advice to agents in Africa? Where else can we take our players to, apart from Europe?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I think the answer is implicit in your question that we should build our local players and we should concentrate in building our local clubs in Africa. So that there's, if you look at the media rights of the EPL, the La Liga, I can tell you that DSTV alone in Africa is giving these clubs a lot of money. But if you look at the CAF, the championship, the CAF in Africa, there's less media rights coverage. So my humble advice is that in as much as it's a business, we should also concentrate on the African clubs. Maybe from Ghana, a player can be transferred to Morocco, from Morocco to maybe Cote d'Ivoire, provided we start to build the base. Because the EU and England in particular, when they started the Premier League, it wasn't like this. They built it and they do a lot of advertising. One of their players, and just to digress from the example you have given, if you look at the statistics of Mo Salah has broken most of the records in Liverpool. But like you said, maybe because he's from Africa, he has not gotten the maximum support. What do you expect? He's not English. He's not Spanish. So what do you expect? But what do you expect them to do? But if he was an English player, like David Beckham and other players, he would have been all over. But even that, we will still have to make the effort of domesticating and transferring and building a club. That is why yesterday I was telling I was asking FIFA yesterday that what are they doing to ensure compliance in our local leagues, in our local football? If we don't build, it will not be attractive. The reason why we are moving from Africa to Europe is because of the attractiveness. If we put African football teams playing now on television screen, how many people will watch? You will see them playing in poor pitches. But immediately you switch to Europe, you've seen a very beautiful green grass. So we need to work and build the local clubs, and our players will retain. Until we get there, we will have to suffer some of these unfortunate incidences. Look at most of African players, like one of our players, Thomas Partey. Thomas Partey is currently facing some criminal matters in London. How are we making those things to ensure that they get the full support? You see, so my only advice is that we need to build our local clubs. And in building our local clubs, for now, most of our players will definitely go in Europe, but we need to build. If we don't build, then nobody will market us and treat us as we want to be treated. Because in the English Premier League, they are there and they give them the support. Yes, if you were watching, when we were watching the presentation before lunch from Mr. Andy, we watched, did we see the regulations he was showing us? All the regulations, they have even implemented the FIFA regulations. But in Africa, most countries have not implemented. Thank you very much, Mr. Mike.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Charles. So quickly, we'll be going to a panel discussion on the topic Women's Football in Africa, Growth and Opportunities. This discussion will be moderated by Maria Tavares, and it has panelists like Madam Bestin Kazadi, Madam Maria Musu, and Madam Julie is still included? Okay, please let's just come to the podium. Maria, please let's share them up as they come for this topic. Okay, okay. So best in you alone? Oh yeah, you come, let's have the conversation. Let's leave the rest. Just you and I. Maria have refused to come, I will deal with you. I speak little French because of you. What about Maria Mosu? Okay, you? Okay, good. Maria? Translator?
Donc, nous allons commencer. Madame Bestine à ma gauche, Madame Maria Mouss à ma droite, et moi, Maria Tavares, au milieu. Et c'est un panel en français. Nous allons entamer ici une discussion que je pense qui va être très intéressante, dont le thème que nous avons évoqué ici, football féminin en Afrique, état des lieux et croissance. Nous allons échanger parmi nous. L'idée, c'est de se poser des questions et puis on échange tranquillement. Mais je pense que je vais laisser plutôt libre arbitre le fait de pouvoir donner son opinion, tout à chacune, d'opiner sur ces deux grands thèmes qui sont l'état des lieux de croissance et aussi l'opportunité pour le football féminin en Afrique. Madame Messine, je vous laisse la parole sur cette première introduction. Je vais plus ou moins vous demander comment expliquer l'accélération récente du football féminin africain au niveau local et international. Donc la croissance du football féminin tantôt au niveau visuel, pour qu'on parle beaucoup plus dans les médias et autres, mais aussi au niveau local, dans les écoles. On commence à avoir de plus en plus d'écoles et à capacité de plus en plus de personnes pour pouvoir former ces jeunes filles. Donc l'état des lieux en Afrique, je fais juste une petite aparté parce qu'on n'a pas nos présentations. Madame Bestine, ici présente, est la 5e vice-présidente de la CAF, 4e, mais qui est en charge du football féminin et aussi de la task force pour le développement du football féminin au sein de la CAF. Donc on va dire qu'il y a une vue d'ensemble très généralisée sur le football féminin sur le continent. Allez-y.
Alors, bonjour mesdames, messieurs. C'est un plaisir, comme hier, d'être cet après-midi avec vous et de partager sur le football féminin et surtout le football féminin africain. C'est vrai qu'aujourd'hui, on peut dire que le football féminin africain connaît une véritable croissance historique, même si pendant des années, il a été marginalisé. Mais aujourd'hui, progressivement, il devient un véritable levier de développement, qu'il soit sportif, économique et même social sur le continent, puisqu'il a un impact important sur l'émancipation, l'égalité des chances, l'inspiration des jeunes filles à pouvoir rêver grand, à pouvoir rêver d'être demain une grande icône du football, et aussi à sensibiliser nos communautés et nos sociétés dans la nouvelle perception que peuvent avoir les garçons sur le football. On appelle le football féminin, je n'aime pas trop de dire football féminin parce qu'en fait, il n'y a qu'un seul football. Il y a le football qui est joué par les filles et puis il y a le football qui est joué par les garçons. Mais donc, ok, on garde cette appellation football féminin, mais je voudrais quand même préciser que le football, il n'a pas de genre. Il est unique. Alors, en quoi est-ce qu'il y a eu cette croissance qui est visible et encourageante? D'abord, c'est parce qu'il a été soutenu par des organisations comme la CAF, la FIFA, et même des fédérations nationales qui ont mis le football féminin comme un atout, un levier, un moteur d'influence, une force stratégique, et cela a attiré pas mal d'investissements, pas mal de visibilité, et puis également des talents. Alors cette croissance visible et encourageante dont je vous parle, elle montre en fait une évolution remarquable au niveau de l'augmentation, d'abord du nombre de compétitions féminines. Ce nombre de compétitions féminines est important parce que plus un championnat féminin est diffusé et visible, évidemment, plus il attire des sponsors, des investisseurs, du public, plus les stades se remplissent, plus il y a une augmentation de revenus, donc une amélioration des salaires, mais également, au-delà de l'amélioration des salaires, une structuration et un professionnalisme des clubs qui est de plus en plus important. Il y a également, on peut parler aussi de meilleure performance, d'un niveau technique plus important au niveau du football féminin, ce qui attire l'attractivité du public. Hausse des audiences, donc plus de sponsoring, et également une visibilité médiatique, un intérêt médiatique sur le football féminin. Parce que quand une arbitre femme préside une audience, enfin une compétition féminine importante internationale comme la CAN par exemple,